Yo, what's good, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Devon the Flesh, back for a legendary video. As I continue to keep everything nitty gritty, everything so saucy. More importantly, we're conducting professional wrestling for this channel. Appreciate you guys always coming through and showing your love and support. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for the channel. More importantly, hit that notification bell so you'll be always notified anytime there's a new video being uploaded for this channel. But let's go ahead and get into everything that went on for Friday Night Smackdown tonight, as things is red hot, as we're covering for an edition for July 26, 2024. Things are red hot when we had on commentary night, we had Corey Graves and we had Wade Barrett calling their action throughout the whole entire show, as well as for the ring announcer, we had Alicia Taylor. She was doing her thing and she was killing it tonight, but she sounded like she was a little bit hoarse towards the end of the show, but she still kept her composure and still was professional throughout the whole entire night of Friday Night SmackDown. But let's go ahead and get into everything that she's kicked off of Friday Night SmackDown, because he had Nick Aldis open up the show with a segment. He was talking with the Bloodline members, all four of them. Nick Aldis said, "Gentlemen, sorry to inform you, but based on your actions last week to Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, and as well as having Tonga Loa ended up getting an eye injury, you're not medically cleared to compete. And so I unfortunately have the responsibility to tell you guys that it looks like you will have to forfeit your spot in the tag team gauntlet for the #1 contenders." Tama Tonga eventually said, What did you say?" Nick Aldis said, "I think you heard what I said clearly." Tama Tonga says, "Forfeit? We're not forfeiting nothing." Then Solo Sikoa says, "Hold on, I appreciate your concerns, but the Bloodline, we're not forfeiting nothing." And he was poised, he was serious about it. And he said, "Do you understand? And you see, Tonga Loa is here. He's part of the Bloodline. So is this man. So tonight's gauntlet match, the Bloodline will represent by Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu, who made his appearance." And then Solo Sikoa said, "Is that okay with you?" with a firm voice. Nick Aldis says, "You know what? Actually, it is okay. Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, you're both in." Solo Sikoa said, "Bring the titles back to home," as he ended up talking to him as Nick Aldis ran off. As I recall, he said, "Bring the titles back home. Do you understand me? Bring them home, and I want our tag team titles back in the Bloodline. We're taking it all." Then that cleared out the actual segment. Then we end up having LA Knight on the promo. You gotta love LA Knight. Yeah. More importantly, he says, "Let me talk to you," as he starts off to kick off SmackDown. He says, "Here we are, making a little pit stop in SmackDown before we go to SummerSlam." Santos Escobar couldn't even remember how many times he's been dropped on his head by this guy right here. And he says, "Well, tonight, I'll be the professor. Class is in a session, and we're going to teach Santos a little bit about history." Then he goes on to say, when we go into SummerSlam, "Well, Logan Paul, I'm not going to teach you, man, I'm going to teach you statistics, not English, but I will teach you how to be a Kester stomped and by the man that called him the megastar. Yeah, no other than the classroom you sit in, and the circumstances is always the same. And everybody's saying, where everybody knows, it's LA Knight. Yeah." And then we get to his music, and he ends up clearing out and going from there. Then we end up getting singles action, as we end up having LA Knight taking on Santos Escobar, who was accompanied with Elektra Lopez, who was there at the ringside. LA Knight started off the match by side stumps with a V trigger, and then Knight throws a haymaker at Escobar. Then Escobar ends up applying a side headlock. Knight whips Escobar across the ring. Escobar drops Knight with a deep arm drag. Knight applies an arm drag, and Escobar backs Knight into the turnbuckles. Then things proceeded as Knight went with a wrist lock takedown, and Knight drops his leg on the left shoulder of Escobar. Then Knight hyperextends the left shoulder of Escobar, and then Knight whips Escobar across the ring. LA Knight scores the elbow knockdown and then get a secondary pinfall. Then Knight went with the clubbing shoulder blocks into the corner, and Knight transitioned into a corner mount. Escobar dumps LA Knight face first into the turnbuckle. Escobar kicks Knight in the ribs, and then Escobar repeatedly stumps Knight in the chest. Then the match continued to go on as Escobar unloads two knife edge chops. Escobar with a vertical suplex. Then he hits a double leg takedown. Escobar applies the sharpshooter, which is a homage to Bret Hart, and then LA Knight grabs the bottom ropes to force the break. Then LA Knight hits three haymakers and then a clothesline to get a hot streak going, as Escobar hits a drop toe hold in the middle of the ropes. Electra Lopez slaps LA Knight across the face. Escobar ends up clocking LA Knight with a 6-1-9. Escobar has complete control of the match during the commercial break. Then Escobar ends up hitting a shotgun Meteora for a 2 count. And then Escobar applies the Cobra Clutch. Then things get hit with a couple heavy body shots. And then LA Knight ends up rallying back with a running neck breaker. Escobar ends up reversing out of an Irish whip from LA Knight. And Escobar ends up hitting a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker for a 2 count. Then things proceeded as Escobar talks smack to LA Knight, and Escobar slaps Knight across the face. Then Escobar is mauled Knight into the corner. Then LA Knight decks Escobar in the back with an elbow smash. Then things continue to proceed as LA Knight ends up whipping Escobar first into the turnbuckle, and then LA Knight repeatedly stomps Escobar on his chest. As LA Knight proceeded to go for a running strike, LA Knight ducks and then clotheslines from Escobar. Then LA Knight ends up getting kicked by Escobar into the gut, and then LA Knight drops Escobar with a DDT for a 2 count once again. Then he tries to go for the BFT, but was denied by Escobar. Then LA Knight hits a pop-up power slam, and the referee gets distracted by Electra Lopez, who gets up on the ring apron. Things proceeded. Escobar superkicks LA Knight, and Escobar goes for a Phantom Driver, but LA Knight lands him with his onto his feet, and then LA Knight connects with the BFT to pick up the victory. After the match, Logan Paul tries to attack him after things proceeded. After Logan Paul got in the match, but was clotheslined down after the distraction by Electra Lopez. But things really broke down as the heels put the beat down to LA Knight. Then they proceeded to set him up as Logan Paul ended up hitting that beautiful frog splash and to send things closing for the actual post-match segment after things broke down. Then we had Byron Saxon, who's in backstage interview with Naomi. She said, she asked, why did Blair Davenport initially show her sign of respect, but then show a few seconds later, attack her from behind? Ooh, I don't like that at all. Oof, why are we itching right now? And why am I sweating bullets? Can we get this right? No, I don't like that. Then we switch gears to Byron Saxon, who's having a backstage interview with Naomi. He asked her why did Blair Davenport initially showed her a sign of respect, but then a few seconds later attack her from behind. She proceeded to say, as a quote, she doesn't know why Blair really has an issue with her, but she's done nothing to that newbie, and Blair is clearly trying to play mind games with Naomi. But it's not going to work, as Naomi said, she's not going to make Blair feel the glow, but respect it as well. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill joins the conversation, and Jade thinks that Belair is lame. And then she's getting the correspondence of getting the beat down pretty soon. Jay thinks that Blair is over her head when it comes to Bianca. Then they proceeded to focus more on addressing the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, the Unholy Union, as Naomi tells Bianca and Jay to handle that business. Then things proceeded as we ended up getting Byron Saxon working overtime as he ends up talking to Logan Paul, who's in the backstage. About the beatdown to LA Knight, just receive a little appetizer of what was ahead for their United States title match at SummerSlam. Then he proceeded to say, in the first course of three-course meal is going to whoop LA Knight, Cleveland, Ohio, in Cleveland, Ohio, in his hometown, in front of his friends, his family, and who will be there. Logan also proceeded to say that he teases that the big star from Cleveland will be attending the show, and Logan says LA Knight is not just going to fight a social media superstar at SummerSlam. No, he's going to be fighting the pride of Cleveland. And ultimately, the underdog on top of things, and he's ready when it comes to LA Knight. And he says, yeah. Then we get a recap of the latest live event that went on in Japan. Nice little recap of showing everything that actually went on when it came to them in Japan. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill starts the night off with Unholy Union in a segment. As Bianca Belair gets on the mic, she says, I love y'all. I would like to stay out here for all night long, but I'm just going to cut to the chase. Now that Alba and Isla have been ghosting us ever since they got the titles at Clash of the Champions. Now they said they were going to be here at SmackDown, right? But they said, where are they? Bring those titles. So where are they at? Jay Cargill says, where are they at? So they need to stop ducking and dodging and come with our belts and catch these hands. Before they proceeded, the entrance comes on for Only Holy Union. They attack Belair and Cargill from behind. Fire is choking Cargill with her boots. And Bianca's kicking Fire in the face. Belair ducks Dawn in the back for an elbow smash and ducks a clothesline from Dawn. And then Belair goes for the KOD, but Dawn retreats to the outside. Jade Cargill ends up picking up Alba Fire and then throwing her into no other than Isla Dawn to close out that actual segment as they prepare for their actual tag team match pretty soon. Tiffany Stratton is detected, and she's about destroying. Dejected. Then we get to Tiffany Stratton, who's in the backstage segment. She's upset about Bayley destroying her Money in the Bank briefcase last week. Nia Jax tells Tiffany that everything will be all right, and now she'll get her a brand new briefcase that's perfect for her. And she should cash in on Bayley, but it wouldn't be a good strategy to me to lose the title at SummerSlam. Besides, Tiffany wants to do tonight is get revenge on Bayley after things had unfolded, with her losing the Money in the Bank contract of being it destroyed. More importantly, get her payback. Then we get ready for the next match of the night. This is the number one contenders gauntlet for the tag team championship. We have the Bloodline, Legado del Fantasma, the Street Profits, the Good Brothers, Pretty Deadly, and a new form tag team Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin in a number one contenders gauntlet match. We start off with the first match, which is Apollo Crews taking on Baron Corbin, taking on Legado del Fantasma. Legado del Fantasma starts off the match by attacking Corbin before the bell rings. Legado del Fantasma gangs up on Corbin, and Garza is choking Corbin with his boot. Then he proceeded to throw Carrillo into Cruz into the steel steps. As Garza hits a running boot, Corbin sidesteps Garza into the turnbuckle, and then Corbin hits a corner clothesline with a short arm clothesline to follow up. Corbin scores the elbow knockdown, and then Corbin hits a belly to back slam for a 2 count. Angel Garza slaps Corbin in the chest, and then Garza tags in her brother Carrillo as Garza sets up with a waist lock and goes from behind, and Carrillo with the apron enziguri, which is a nice tag team transitional move. Then they ended up continue to put the beat down on Baron Corbin majority of the fight, and then they end up putting the fireman's carry on as they set up a spinning enziguri from there. Corbin hits a hip toss on the turnbuckle and then Cruz and Garza are tagged in for a hot tag setup for heel and face. Then things continue to transition as Apollo Cruz hits a clothesline on Garza, and then Cruz knocks Carrillo down off the apron. Cruz thrusts a kick in the midsection of Garza, and then Cruz hits a running pump kick, follow up with a ducking clothesline from Angel Garza. Cruz then hits a leaping clothesline, and then Cruz pops back up onto his feet with a kip up, and then Cruz goes for three German suplexes into a stinger splash. Follow up, Apollo Cruz goes for a flying clothesline, but Garza counters with a pump handle knee strike. Then he goes from there with a double underhook backbreaker for a 2 count. Then things proceeded to go on as Carrillo into hit another clothesline and knocked Corbin over the top ropes as Corbin drags Carrillo onto the outside of the ring. Corbin throws Carrillo into the steel steps as Garza hits a running knee strike, and then Garza goes for the wing clipper, but Cruz lands back on his feet and made the blind tag, and then Cruz hits another pump kick, and Corbin connects with the end of days as Legado Fantasma has been eliminated. Then we get ready for the next match. Baron Corbin and Apollo Cruz taking on the Street Profits with B-Fab as their valet. It started off red hot when it came to Apollo Cruz and Montez started off things. Cruz kicks forward into the gut, and then Cruz sends forward into the corner. They proceeded to showcase their athleticism and continue to keep things transitioning with the chain wrestling. Then they started off into the center of the ring when Cruz hits a leapfrog over for it, and then Cruz ends up dropping him down onto the canvas. Cruz drops a couple of drop kicks onto Montez Ford, and then Cruz goes for a delayed vertical suplex before it ends up landing on his feet. Then he ends up going for the lovely military press and he ends up diving at Dawkins and then lunges over Dawkins afterwards, but Cruz reverses it into an Irish whip, and then Dawkins cartwheels around Cruz. Both guys are knocked down for a double clothesline. Montez Ford and Baron Corbin makes the hot tags in, and Ford throws haymakers at Corbin, and then Corbin just hits a straight right hand. Montez Ford shoulder blocks from the apron, and then things break down as Corbin responds with a leaping haymaker, assisted somersault plancha. Then Corbin is fired up, and Corbin goes for a superplex, but Ford blocks it, and then Ford headbutts Corbin. Then he goes for actual dive over Corbin, and Corbin kicks Ford into the face. Corbin ascends to the top ropes and then hits a diving clothesline off the mid rope. Corbin powerbombs for a counter, and then he goes up for a stepping enziguri from there. Apollo Crews then Dawkins tags in for the hot tag to switch things up into the transition with the tag team. As Dawkins ends up hitting a clothesline to Apollo Crews, Apollo Crews ducks and then hits a 360 single splash, where Apollo Crews hitting a single splash of his own back and forth as they went back and forth. Then Dawkins ducks a clothesline from Crews in an enziguri exchange. Then Dawkins hits a leg capture suplex, and Ford sends Corbin sending shoulder first into the steel steps. Apollo Crews sends Dawkins tumbling into the floor and then hits a serial somersault plancha, and Crews rolls Dawkins back into the ring. Dawkins avoids the frog splash, and Dawkins scores a right jab. Then he tags in Montez Ford as the Street Profits deliver their revelation for their tag team finisher to seal the deal to eliminate Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin. Then we get ready for the next match, which is Pretty Deadly versus Street Profits. Dawkins gets distracted by Elden Prince. Wilson takes advantage of it and tries to go to a roll up for a 2 count. Wilson then hits an inside cradle for a 2 count as Wilson hits another quick roll up for another near fall. Dawkins drops Wilson with the flapjack, and then Dawkins tags in Montez Ford, who whips Wilson across the ring, and then Dawkins drops him directly onto the ring canvas. Then things proceeded to go with a shoulder tackle and an assisted moonsault. Furthermore, they end up going for a double flapjack on Wilson for a 2 count, and then Wilson shoves forward. And then for Montez Ford ends up clotheslining Wilson, and then Wilson tags in Prince. Wilson escapes the atomic drop, and then Ford kicks Wilson in the gut. Ford then goes for a vertical suplex, but Prince counters with a chop block, and then Prince repeatedly stumps at the left hamstring of Montez Ford, hooks to the outside of the leg for a 2 count. Then Prince tags in Wilson, and then Wilson is put into the boots with his left leg on Montez Ford. As things continue to progress, Wilson ends up wrapping the left knee of Ford around the mid rope, and Pretty Deadly is cutting the ring off halfway to keep Angelo Dawkins from tagging in. Pretty Deadly continues to keep things in the smooth as he's displaying great tag team transitional moves, but Montez Ford isn't giving up as he's showing great fighting spirit throughout the majority of his tag team match. Then Prince continues to attack the left knee of Montez Ford as Prince tags in Wilson. Then Wilson applies a gravity off the top rope, and then go from there. Prince ends up hitting a straight right hand on Wilson with a slingshot dropkick to the left knee of Montez Ford. Then things proceeded as Wilson applies the single leg crab, and Ford grabs the bottom ropes to force the break. As Wilson hits the DDT, the left knee of Montez Ford, Wilson knocks Dawkins down off the apron. As Wilson will continue to repeatedly hit the foot stumps directly over across the leg, Wilson applies a single leg lock, and Ford kicks Wilson out of the ring. Dawkins and Prince are tagged in for the hot tag heel and face hot tag transition. Dawkins hits 2 clotheslines, and then Prince reverses out of an Irish whip from Dawkins, and Dawkins leapfrogs over Prince. Dawkins hits a corkscrew elbow and then goes from there for the 360 Stinger splash. Dawkins follows up with a spinning enziguri for a 2 count. Then he whips Prince across the ring, and Prince holds on to the top rope, but Prince kicks Dawkins in the face, and then Prince tags in Wilson. Dawkins, with a straight up right hand, knocks Prince into a reverse of an Irish whip from Dawkins. Then Prince leapfrogs over Dawkins as Wilson drops Dawkins with a DDT for a near fall 2 count. Then things continue to proceed as Wilson tags in Prince, and then running with a nice running uppercut party with an assisted double gut buster for a 2 count. Ford dumps Wilson onto the outside, and then Prince launches Ford over the top rope, but Dawkins rocks Prince with another haymaker, and then Dawkins tags in Montez Ford as the Street Profits hit the Doomsday Blockbuster and ended up sealing the deal by eliminating Pretty Deadly. The portion of the match started, we get ready for the Good Brothers versus the Street Profits. The portion of the match started off with the commercial break, but then Anderson ends up hitting a the Hayek kick. Then Gallows levels forward with the body avalanche, and Anderson hooks the outside leg for a 2 count. Then Anderson rakes the eyes of Montez Ford, following with a snapmare takeover, and Anderson applies a rear chin lock. Ford gets back into a vertical base, and Anderson kicks Montez Ford in the gut. Anderson scores an elbow knockdown for a 2 count as Anderson whips Montez Ford into the turnbuckles. Then they proceeded to get the tag in to Gallows. Gallows ends up hitting a top kick, and then Gallows hits a running lariat for a 2 count. Gallows ends up body slamming Montez Ford for a tag into Anderson, and they hook both legs up for a 2 count. Anderson body slams Montez Ford again and tries to go for a cover for a near fall as Anderson cranks on Montez Ford's neck, and then Anderson tags Gallows back in for transitional tag team moves. Gallows kicks Montez Ford in the ribs, and then Gallows hits a vertical suplex for a 2 count. Gallows hits a hammer elbows and then applies a rear chin lock, and then 4 elbows with the midsection of Gallows. Then Gallows punches Ford in the back, and then Gallows goes for a body slam, but Montez Ford counters into a DDT. Gallows tags in Anderson, and Anderson slaps Montez Ford and stops him in his tracks. Then sends Montez Ford into the corner. Things continue to pick up pace as things finally picked up as Dawkins was able to get the hot tag. Then things broke down as Montez Ford was able to hit a ducking clothesline on Anderson and then a spine buster for a 2 count with a combination by Ford putting Anderson and out of the ring. And then Dawkins rolls Gallows up over for a score to pinfall as the Good Brothers were eliminated. Then we get ready for the hot one, which was the Bloodline. Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga being with their managers that's there for the night of Solo Sokoa and Tonga Loa. Loa Tonga. Tonga's raining down forearms and then shivers to the corner. Tonga repeatedly stomps on Dawkins' chest. Tonga applies a side headlock and then Tonga tags in Fatu. Fatu hits and they end up hitting a double headbutt and then slams Dawkins' head into the top of the turnbuckle pad. Fatu then hits a body avalanche and then Solo attacks Dawkins from behind as referee back was turned. Tonga then hits a couple of elbows and then Tonga ends up tagging in Fatu, who applies a front face kick lock and then ends up going from there as Fatu kicks Dawkins into the gut. Fatu headbutts Dawkins again and then uses the middle rope and chokes Dawkins while he's down. As Solo delivers another cheap shot from behind as referee's back is turned. Fatu continues to dish out the repeated headbutts. Then Dawkins sidesteps Fatu into the turnbuckles. Then Montez Ford and Tonga tags in, and then Ford hits a 2 clothesline, and Ford ducks a clothesline from Tonga, and then Ford was able to hit a spine buster, and then hit a super kick on Jacob Fatu. Tonga ends up ducking a clothesline on Montez Ford, and Ford goes for a belly to back suplex, but Ford lands back on his feet, and then Ford thrust kicks into a midsection of Tonga, and Ford kicks Tonga in the chest. Montez Ford proceeded to go for a step up enziguri. Then he ended up hitting a couple reversals, including the Irish whip from Tonga from there. Tonga launches Ford onto the top rope, and then Ford hits a straight right hand, and Ford hits a flying cross body block for a 2 count. Tonga has Ford perched onto the top rope turnbuckle when Tonga hits a superplex for a 2 count. Then things proceed as Dawkins dump Fatu out of the ring, and then Tonga swept off the legs of Dawkins. And the Bloodline gangs up on Dawkins, and then Montez Ford delivers a somersault plancha over the steel pole right there, directly into the corner section, and lands on everybody. Montez Ford rolls in Tonga back into the ring, and Ford goes for the heavens. But Tonga ducks out the way, and Ford starts to favor his knee, but Tonga tags in Fatu, and Fatu is in the inside out lariat, knocking down Montez Ford. Fatu lands the suicide dive, and then Ford ducks a clothesline from Fatu, and Fatu goes for the pop-up Samoan drop, but Ford counters into a DDT, where this spot was like amazing when Jacob Fatu just stood up like it was nothing, pissed off, ready to go, and proceeded to put the beat down as he ended up risen back on his feet, and Fatu super kicks Montez Ford, and then he ends up hitting a Samoan pop-up Samoan drop. Then he plants him with that moonsault to pick up the victory, as it showed the true dominance of Jacob Fatu. The winners of the match ended up being the Bloodline, as things broke down with a via pinfall. Then the Bloodline celebrated as they put up the ones, as they end up celebrating from there. Then we get ready for the Grayson Waller and Austin Theory segment with Terrence Crawford. Grayson Waller and Austin Theory has a huge moment. This is the number 1 pound for pound boxer in the world as they end up going over. Then they say Terrence Crawford then is in the ring with us. But last week they said, Terrence, you disrespect us. You handed Cody a steel chair, and we think you need to apologize. And he says, I don't think you understand. Not only did you hand Cody the chair, you need to apologize for thinking about where you belong in the same ring as A-Town Down Under. Then he says, you might be the best boxer in the world, but this is our ring. And then he ended up saying, hey, look at me when I'm talking to you. And then before he can even talk and carry a conversation, he says, I just want you to know, if you take one step towards me, my boy, Austin Theory, is about to knock you out. And then Austin Theory looks at him like, what? What do you mean? He says, no, you can knock him out. Austin Theory says, well, hey, wait, I ain't trying. And then Crawford KOs him out of nowhere, just drops him in the segment. Austin Theory rolls out the ring, and that was a flying ship from there as he has to help Austin Theory to the back. But I'm looking forward to seeing Austin Theory's actual face turn. This is going to be amazing. It's going to be a big pop when he finally turns on Grayson Waller. And I think this is going to be a great run. Do you have a promo from Cody Rhodes, who's there in Japan? He says, our live event tour doing what I told everybody I was going to do is bring the WWE Championship across the globe. It's a little moment of solitude and reflection. A little thing in wrestling a wrestler shouldn't do is that looking back at the Royal Rumble, knowing that I had the main event of WrestleMania ripped out of my hands, only for people to take it back. I reflect on the greatest fight of my life, defeating Roman Reigns to do so. And my return to the WWE finished the story, surrounded by my friends, family, and fans, conquered as a conquering hero. And the Bloodline was no more, so I thought. The new doppelganger version of the Bloodline, a pack of wild cats and nothing to lose. Running around feasting on anybody that's standing in their way, and chaos ensures without a true lion leading the pack. But because of this chaos, I now sit here alone. My friends, my allies, my partners, and Randy Orton, Kevin Owens destroying from trying to fight by my side. While I watch, I heard into SummerSlam a man on the island. A man who has decks to stack against me. A man who have had to fight for every ounce of pride and energy I have. But also head into SummerSlam the champion, and I know that I will bring all my fire and passion to this fight. Because I owe it to the people to defend this championship, and I'll slip it back into the hands of the Bloodline. Solo Sikoa is a dangerous man. He stepped up to declare himself the new tribal chief. He has proven that he is ready to take that mantle of responsibility to do whatever it takes to get what he wants. I used to think that Solo wasn't ready before he battled out in the main event of SummerSlam. I challenge you to meet me in the ring next week, face to face, one on one, so you can look me directly in the eyes and see if you are indeed ready. Because the moment of solitude, I know that I am. And they go from there. Then they hit to next week's Smackdown recap of getting things ready for next week. As we have Unholy Union putting the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships on the line against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. Plus, we have DIY versus Jacob Tavatu and Tama Tonga for the WWE Tag Team Championships. Logan Paul will have a special homegoing segment, as well as so much more that will be going on for next Friday Night SmackDown. Carmelo Hayes ends up interrupting Andrade El Idolo interview. Then Carmelo Hayes tells Andrade that it isn't over until he wins. Andrade says Melo missed their match last week. Melo responds by saying that the crowd didn't miss him, but he left the company a few years ago. Melo compares himself to LeBron James, and Andrade says that Melo isn't a LeBron, more like Bronny Jr., which is kind of funny. Melo feels that this is his time, and Andrade needs to step aside And Andrade is down to have one more match with Melo. So I guess that will be set up for next week. Then we end up having the third match of the night, women's tag team action. The WWE Women's Champion Bayley with Mia Yim, Michin, taking on Nia Jax and the Miss Money in the Bank. Tiffy Time, Tiffany Stratton. This match was decent, a lot of back and forth. Stratton and Nia Jax attacked Michin before the bell rings. Jax headbutts Michin and Jax throws Michin into the steel steps. Bayley arrives with a kendo stick in her hand, and the referee is trying to calm Bayley down. Bayley checks on Michin, and then Bayley will start things off against Stratton. Bayley ends up hitting a Luthez press. Then Bayley transitions into a ground and pound attack. Then things proceed to go smooth as she ends up hitting a transitional headlock. And then Stratton sends Bayley chest first into the turnbuckle. Then Tiffany Stratton grabs a side headlock of her own and then whips Bayley across the ring. And Stratton drops Bayley with a shoulder tackle. And then Bayley ends up whips Stratton across the ring as well. And then drops Bayley with a shoulder tackle as a counter. Then Stratton rolls under the clothesline from Bayley. And then Bayley kicks the legs of Stratton. Bayley is raining down headmakers. And then with a running elbow dropping across the back of Tiffany Stratton's neck. Bayley then proceeded to hit a sliding lariat for a 2 count. Then Bayley punches Tiffany Stratton into the back, and then Bayley stomps at Tiffany Stratton's chest. And Bayley talks smack to Nia Jax. Then Tiffany Stratton hits a dive on Bayley's back first into the turnbuckle, and then Tiffany Stratton repeatedly stomps on Bayley's chest, and then Stratton kicks Bayley in the back with a running forearm exchange. Then Tiffany Stratton calls for Bayley pathetic, and then Bayley rocks Tiffany Stratton with a forearm smash, and then Bayley kicks Nia Jax off the ring apron. Bayley hits the middle rope stunner on Stratton for a 2 count. Michin finally gets back to her feet, and Jax wisely pulls Michin off the apron, and Jax hits the Samoan drop on the floor. Tiffany Stratton hits a running hip attack. Then she proceeded to hit a running double foot stomp for a 2 count. As Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax have complete the cover for a 2 count. Stratton on the back of Bayley's neck, and then Tiffany Stratton whips Bayley back into the turnbuckle as Stratton makes a tag to Nia Jax. They end up hitting a double back handspring elbow strike, and then Nia Jax hooks the outside leg for a 2 count. Bayley ends up hitting the turnbuckle, and Jax stands on Bayley's back, and then Nia Jax poses to the crowd, and the crowd continues to boo her. Nia Jax tags in Tiffany Stratton, and Stratton hits a body avalanche on her own. And then Tiffany Stratton punches Bayley in the back and then applies a rear naked chin lock. Then Bayley attacks the midsection of Tiffany Stratton with a spine buster for a 2 count. Then things continue to pick up as Stratton applies a front face lock. Stratton tags in Nia Jax for the body slam, and then Bayley tags with a running elbow for a 2 count. Nia Jax applies the Cobra Clutch onto Stratton, tags in herself in, and then Stratton is put the boots to Bayley as Stratton sends Bayley into the corner and tags in Nia Jax. Nia Jax proceeded to stomp Bayley in her tracks, and then Bayley sends Jax shoulder first into the steel ring post. Tiffany Stratton tags herself back in again and uses her feet to create separation. And Bayley finally tags in Michin. Michin clothesline Stratton. Michin ends up hitting a running neck breaker with a follow-up. Then she ends up hitting a flapjack. Michin hits a pop back on her feet and then she ends up hitting a dropkick tornado DDT combination for a 2 count. Then Michin ends up landing a suicide dive, but sudden of Nia Jax, and Michin avoids the body avalanche. As Michin checks in Bailey, Michin hits a stepping enziguri, but Bailey hits a running knee strike with a follow-up. Bailey follows that up with a flying elbow for a 2 count. Bailey and Michin gang up on Tiffany Stratton, but Nia Jax go for a Samoa drop, and then Bailey gets in their way. The referee tries to get Michin back into the ring, but Tiffany Stratton checks Bailey with the Money in the Bank briefcase by knocking her down. Nia Jax follow up with the Annihilator to connect for the 1, 2, 3. As this match concluded, things were looking really red hot when it came to the ladies. The feuds continue to pick up. I look forward to seeing that women's match between Bailey and Nia Jax. The overall, this match was maybe a 3.5 out of 5 stars, but it was decent action when it came to the women's division, and I look forward to seeing more of it. Then we get ready for the last segment of the night. Solo Sikoa was with the Bloodline, and then he goes into his interview prop. He ends up saying, as I quote, "Cody Rhodes, I will see you face to face next week. The same night, my Tongas will bring back the tag team championships to the Bloodline. The night before I bring back the Undisputed WWE Championship, the Bloodline is at your expense. And one weekend, the Bloodline will handle family business. If Roman Reigns got a problem with that, you know where you can find me. More importantly, you can end up like Randy Orton and Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes." And he goes off with the same niche of saying, "Acknowledge me," like he's Roman Reigns. The show was closed off from there as it went off the air. This show was very mid, but it was okay for what it was. Overall, when it came to everything that transpired on the road to SummerSlam, I feel like they need to pick it up, get us more invested, and try a better approach when it comes to everything they're going to be landing out when it comes to Friday Night Smackdown. But we shall see how things continue to pick up next week. I appreciate you guys always coming through to show your love and support as we get to the nitty gritty. Everything's so saucy. But as you know how we do, chime down in the comments. Let me know how you feel about everything. Let's talk professional wrestling. More importantly, smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new to my channel. More importantly, hit that notification bell so you'll be always notified anytime there's a new upload from my channel. But I appreciate you guys always coming through and showing your love and support. Until the next episode, I'll catch you guys later.